What did you want to talk about vaccinations?
Well, it keeps coming up on our vestry agenda, and I keep saying, let me talk to my colleagues and see what they're doing, because my preference would be to just keep ignoring it. But I think it's not well conceived, it's impossible to implement, and it's the least of my concerns, so just ignore it.
What are you talking about? Like making it mandatory or something?
So the immunization policy that came out last September.
Yeah.
They postponed it till spring.
Yeah, I think it was June or something.
I think it would be, I haven't done this, Eric, but I think it would be worth digging out back emails or asking Ariane or April or Dee Dee or somebody. There was a decision that it would be held back for 6 months or so for revision.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, so at least that would be documentation that says this has been pulled back and we have not yet seen it emerge. Because
I do not, my recollection, Martin, it wasn't for revision, it was just being postponed till implementation, but that the policy was going to remain the same.
That's what I thought it was too. And this policy is that all employees have to prove that they've been vaccinated, right? And is it volunteers too, especially with children?
I think anyone who works with children.
Yeah, all employees, all volunteers with children, and all children who are part of regular programming. So like a guest to your Sunday school doesn't have to provide immunization records to come to Sunday school, but if they're enrolled in Sunday school, my reading it is that they're supposed to have it on file.
However, but the problem is that the policy itself does not list what the vaccinations are. It implies that it refers to documents that talk about childhood vaccinations. And so the question is, if an adult on staff does not have their childhood vaccination records, are we going to have to bar the door and not let them in? Because doctors will not recreate vaccination records that they did not administer.
And how many people have got their vaccination records from childhood?
Flu or with COVID. So, I mean, to me, it strikes me as it's one of these where the Episcopal Church Executive Council needed something to do and did a resolution, and then our council needed something to do and picked it up. But it's poorly worded at best, and it's not worth us dealing with. Do I have feelings about this? Of course.
I mean, it's unworkable and it's unnecessary.
I think it was a policy for a disease that doesn't exist any longer. That disease was misunderstood at that time.
And then to have it be, but to apply it to adults.
Yeah.
Where the adults don't have the records, and it's expensive to go to get lab work to prove that you have a pertussis vaccination, titer.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
not
the old-fashioned vaccinations. You could prove it by showing your arm, but the new ones don't leave a mark.
right.
Damn it. We could just all take pictures of our shoulder.
Was there some talk in the flashback about that, about maybe applying to Episcopal schools and not necessarily to Sunday schools?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I'm asking, I'm
I
not
think the
sure.
resolution as approved by the diocesan council was about everybody and everything.
Yeah, what you might be remembering, Diane, I'm looking at an old pie right now. I'm trying to find when they said, this is deferred. But this is going back to September. It says that congregations that operate or rent space to schools pursuant to the recent communications about may delay implementation of the revised Standard 6 health and safety until June 1st.
So I just listened to the bishop's meeting from last week, and nobody's brought it up in any of the meetings I've been in.
No.
No, me either. I mean, I remember it being brought up early on, but then it was kind of pushed out because people were wondering, what about COVID? And does that mean that,
Eric, you're saying that it was pushed back until June of 2021?
That was-
What I was just quoting had to do with schools.
Oh,
Now,
But my
recollection-
memory of when this thing got, because it was really, originally it was supposed to be implemented in the fall. There was pushback. And didn't they say it was postponed implementation until sometime in spring of this year?
I was thinking June or July of this year.
I was
Okay.
thinking it was June, yeah.
Okay, in any case, I can't find the announcement saying that.
The thing we know now is that the vaccine doesn't do some of the things they expected it to do.
but Joseph, we're not talking about COVID vaccines. We're
Yeah, I
talking
know.
about mumps and measles,
Just mumps or all vaccines?
childhood immunizations as required in schools.
Yeah,
So do you have your vaccination records?
right here.
And what's the difference between attending Sunday school and being enrolled in Sunday school? I mean,
Yeah,
Well, and there's also questions about it being classist and whatnot, that it assumes a certain degree of stability with your healthcare provider and whatnot. And if you're poor and more unstable in your lifestyle, like you don't have these things, does that mean you can't go to Sunday school? And
Is the church?
I was at the funeral of my
liability of some kind?
pediatrician. I remember that.
what, Bill?
Is the church, the larger church, worried about some kind of liability? Is that what's driving this?
I think the Episcopal, somebody brought it to executive council and they thought it was a good thing to do and made them feel good.
I just wonder, yeah, I wonder how it all started because it feels kind of a random thing.
Started with Michael Barlow in the Episcopal Church Center.
When kids go to a public school, they have to have their immunization records, right? Now, I don't know, what about homeschooling? Homeschool kids have to have immunizations?
What about kids whose parents don't believe in vaccinations or?
Yeah.
Well, but what about your deacon and your adults and older adults on your staff?
Mhm.
Are you,
That's what I was saying. I was at the funeral of my pediatrician.
so the,
He's not going to say a word.
So the end of the matter is, none of you have done anything to implement it. None of you are planning on doing anything to implement it. None of you are asking the bishop's office because you don't want to stir it up again.
Kind of
bring it
don't
up.
ask, don't tell thing.
Yeah, just leave it alone.
Well, and for me, there's no staff. So we're talking, I mean, it's a handful of people, maybe. It's just doesn't feel like it's that urgent.
And the other weird thing is when I go onto the diocesan website trying to get information, I can't, of course, it's impossible to find anything on our website anyway, but I can't find anything that talks about, oh, wait. As part of that action, in February 2020, the Executive Council of the Episcopal Church adopted a model DF, Domestic and Foreign Missionary Society, vaccination policy for youth events and encouraged dioceses and Episcopal institutions to adapt it locally. Our diocesan council established a task group to adapt this into a diocesan policy, which was approved at the July council meeting. As part of that action, the office of the bishop has been directed to issue written and online communications to all congregations, directing them to initiate the 5 policies. The due date for implementation is June 1st, 2021.
So the bishop is directing.
Yeah.
Directing sounds fairly coercive.
That's directing as of, but that was as of what, last year?
Yeah.
So they haven't done anything further.
Well, but nor have they undone it. You know, the standing direction is to do it. And I'm looking at it right now. All church and diocesan employees must provide proof of immunization as described in RCW on hiring as a condition of employment. A statement from licensed physician or healthcare providers is acceptable. All church and diocesan volunteers working with children or youth must also provide proof of immunization. Any child or person under the age of 18 signing up for ongoing church activities like Sunday school or youth group must have it, and the church registration or information forms must include this written verification from parents or guardians. 4, all congregations are strongly encouraged to make known the policy of the Episcopal Church regarding immunization in all their sources. And 5, all congregations are strongly encouraged to provide information about immunization to its members, so education.
Boy,
Yep, that is the document.
they really did it.
I mean, that's from last year, but I mean, I wish they would add in what detail, what's the requirement? And then let's start talking about who's got it.
You mean like
I think it's not workable.
immunizations?
I mean,
Yeah, what's
list,
the list?
what are the required immunizations? Because there's a lot of details and gobbledygook on the RCW stuff. And then, you know, what's the, you know, what about the adult staff?
I wish Sarah Colvin were on the line today because she often has a very objective view based on years and years
Yeah.
of pathology.
Yeah.
No, but the question isn't for us, is this a good policy or not? The question for us is we're ordained clergy in this diocese, and this is what the council has come up with. And we're either in compliance or we're not in compliance. And if we're not in compliance, it's either because we're rebels or we're lazy.
I think it's, but I think it's what's already been done. Messages have gone back to the diocese about how unworkable this is. That is our obligation to say, give that feedback that this doesn't work for these reasons. And that has happened, and we don't know where it stands now. And wasn't it you, Martin, that did that document, or? Yeah.
My wife raised a lot of the concerns and I've been echoing them. I'm going to take the rebellious option, Eric. And I don't think I think that this is not, as issues go, and among the things that I am non-compliant on, I don't think this is a big one.
You're not lazy, you're thoughtful.
Well,
That's
don't give
not
me
a crime.
Yeah, well,
It's
no, I mean,
also raising these new, because of the COVID vaccinations, we've got a whole other layer of thinking about vaccinations, and this just doesn't seem to be the time. I would resist it too.
yeah, but the whole other layer of thinking about vaccinations because of COVID is that we're all for it.
We are all for it.
We are, but not for the
I'm for
legalistic.
vaccinations.
We're
I
not,
think
Not all members of the
policy's fully
congregation.
written to apply to all adults who cannot who may not be able to document their compliance. So what is the problem we're trying to solve here?
I'm trying to know what are other people doing, because I've got a senior warden who keeps pressing me to be a responsible rector in terms of responding to the regulations of the diocese, and I keep going like this. So my first baby step forward is to talk to you to find out who am I in solidarity with, and then what are we doing? Because it might be that we actually encourage each other to do it, or we encourage each other to rebel together, which is at least responding to it and engaging, rather than just disregarding it.
Well, I'll send a letter in.
if I had a senior warden who was really interested in pursuing it, I'd pass it off to them and say, see how this might work here, and what are the impediments to it working, and to have that person think it through.
It might be that an inquiry would be officially made to the diocese to say, we understand this has been put off until June of 2021. Is there any further update or clarification that will be forthcoming?
Dee Dee Moore would be the person to talk to about that.
Yes and no.
Right.
Dee Dee's posture on this one has been pretty intransigent, and
She's just been Dee Dee. I mean, she can be that way about a lot of
It's a
things, but
question to raise to the bishop.
it
Yeah.
seems she was the one waving the flag on all of it in the Zoom calls, and she was the one.
Same with Dennis Tierney. He got
I
very,
don't think
I'll
we've
write a
had a
letter.
single bishop Zoom recently where the bishop was told, are we supposed to follow this rule, that rule, the other rule? He has said, I can't make you do it. This is what I think you ought to consider. He just does not do that to grown-up rectors and vicars.
He does about assessment.
About what?
Assessment.
Assessment is a little different,
I would
but
be
we could survive not voting at convention.
I would be willing to write a letter that says, Greg, I'm aware this is coming up. I'm sympathetic to the general ideals of it, but the practicalities of it are totally beyond me. I'm having trouble putting together a Palm Sunday liturgy because I'm not functioning very well. And so to put together a new immunization policy for all staff, volunteers, and children, I simply don't have it in me to do this. And that way I'm being totally upfront with my authority. I'm
Yes.
acknowledging that it's out there and saying, and I just can't do it.
yeah,
And you shouldn't have to do that by yourself. We should all be in solidarity.
I would sign on to a message like that. And
I would be willing to draft a letter. Do we want to brainstorm some bullet points for such a letter that we all agree with? I'm going to put you on mute for a second. I have a new parish administrator who's calling me right now.
I was sure he was going to say I have a new parish administrator that doesn't know how to transfer the call.
but I think it's just too much.
I don't know why I'm not worried about this. Listening to you guys talk about this makes me feel as if I should be more worried about it.
Well, I'm the first to say I'm not worried about it, and I want to, ignore what is what I'm rebelling against.
I mean, I put something when it first came out. I think I put something in the blast about it, a few weeks, letting everybody know this is the policy. So if you work with kids, please make sure your vaccines are up to date. To me, it's kind of like right in there with making sure that everybody who has a key to the church has safeguarding God's children. It doesn't necessarily have to be that complicated. It's just, if you have your records, please, let us know or share them or copy them. If you don't, I know the diocese at one point said they would be willing to assist people in getting any they didn't know or didn't have, if it was a monetary concern. But, and quite frankly, I have so few children that most of them are all in the same family, so it's like
Well,
there's
that's also the issue. The policy doesn't say it's just about children. It says generally, it focuses on employees.
Again, it's just me. So I think I looked at the RCW and the vaccines and all of that. And I think there was maybe one that I have never heard of. So I'm pretty sure I didn't get it, but I don't know. I got yellow fever back in the day. I mean, I know I'm not helpful. I'm just,
Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
Laura, is your suggestion, go ahead and announce it to the church, go ahead and collect immunization records as people provide them, that it's a policy that's kind of being implemented, but you aren't barring people from doing anything if they aren't in compliance?
I think I would be more interested in finding out how big of a pain in the butt is this going to be.
Well,
Have some conversations with people, and have you got them? Have you not? Have you, how is it?
Do we need medical personnel to evaluate who is in close enough in compliance and who is too far out of compliance? And is there a HIPAA issue here?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Good one, good one.
I think we talked about HIPAA in one of the
We did.
Bishop Zoom things. I feel like somebody raised that question.
But let's say someone has 5 out of the 6 vaccinations who who evaluates whether they therefore can come to work?
All right, I want to go back to Laura's kind of suggestion. How do y'all feel about that? Go ahead and announce it. Go ahead and process the information as you receive it. It's a
Wait.
posture of kind of good intent with the diocesan policy, but you're not barring anyone from doing anything who isn't in compliance with it.
So when I presented this to the vestry, it brought up a whole nother layer of HR beyond what we have. So if we need, so we have a way to manage safeguarding God's people and children that makes sure that the members are vestry members, staff, anybody who's got a key can take that, and we track that. But this added just another layer in a different direction, which actually raised a few questions about which could be a good thing and maybe not so much. But that's where we were going. We were going into like, okay, we need to like shore up our human resources with our staff of 3, and then help our children's program.
I'd like to know more about it. And
I think it's not worth, you got to choose what you're going to raise and press. I mean, Eric talked about rebelliousness. I have vestry members who aren't confirmed.
me too.
Am I going to get thrown out for that one? That one's more important ecclesiastically in a sense.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt for a minute. My 4 o'clock meeting just showed up, so I need to go. So it doesn't sound like we're going to reach any resolution here on anything. But at least I know there's no one that I'm talking to who's doing a damn thing. That's
No,
the matter.
not doing anything now.
Okay.
We are united in our not doing anything.
Rebelliousness.
Bye.
Okay, see you, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Bye, Eric.
All right, I'll stop the, unless we're done, want to talk some more, I'll stop the recording and I'll send it out to the others.
I wonder if there are any churches in the diocese who have done this. I guess that's what I would wonder more, because it seemed like it came up and there was all this about it and then it died pretty quickly. And I feel as that I'm wondering if there was a lot of pushback or seemed like a good idea at the time, but not anything that ever got any traction and didn't seem.
And as we're triaging our energy and everything, this is just so
So far
low,
down the list.
so low.
Yeah, me too.
Very low on the list.
Yeah. A quick isolated thing. Do any of you need a freezer for your church?
No.
I'm about to get rid of 2 large